Let's slide in now the power panel. Jessica Tarla, Fox News Channel contributor. Kelsey Harkness, fellow at the Independent Women's Forum and senior news producer for the Daily Signal. I recently spoke at an event there with you guys in D.C., and Nikki Haley was given an award that night, so I'm very familiar with your organization. Let's start with you and this prolonged meeting today. We're getting kind of a touch of where the president wants to focus in 2019.
Absolutely. I think President Trump is doing everything right today now that Nancy Pelosi is back from her Hawaiian vacation. We are hopefully getting things done and ending this government shutdown. That said, I think a lot of Americans are looking at it and wondering why it's so difficult to come to a compromise. We have Republicans who control the Senate, Democrats who control the House. Republicans want $5 billion, Democrats want zero. $2.5 billion for border security sounds pretty reasonable, and I think Democrats are unable to explain why not.
Well, and if you were buying a house, I could see that. But with this, apparently, and Representative Carter of Georgia told me this earlier, Buddy Carter, that it's somewhat the lingo, too. Can we get to a place where we just call it national border security, as Lindsey Graham has suggested, Senator, rather than calling it the wall, which I guess is offending Democrats?
Well, the initial proposal from Chuck Schumer was $1.6 billion for increased border security. So the president did have that on the table from day one. And we did hear over the weekend and into the new year that there were rumblings that the White House had said 2.5, and the Democrats had countered again with 1.3 billion. Maybe we'll get something. I'm not particularly sure. I tend to agree with the guest that you had on previously that this will go on for a while. Nancy Pelosi has been clear that she will pass the stopgap measures to get us through September 30th, I think, and then just DHS until February 8th. So there can be more time for negotiation, but without Americans who work for the government not getting their paychecks, because as your guest pointed out, people who live paycheck to paycheck are suffering because of this, even if they are going to be back
So you're
paid.
Talking about Bob Cusack. So that was a few minutes ago in the show.
Editor
and what I would say, too, Kelsey, about that is if Nancy Pelosi is made Speaker of the House, perhaps that will kind of get things going again, which would be almost immediate because that vote is tomorrow.
Right.
Is this really all about politics?
Absolutely, it's about politics. We have heard Nancy Pelosi call a border wall immoral, and yet I don't know how you explain the fact that we already have over 700 miles of border walls. I think what is actually
under
immoral,
a Democrat president, 2006 money's allocated. I'm sorry, go ahead.
2006 and in 2013, Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, supported border walls and fences. But what is actually immoral, in my opinion, is Congress supporting laws that encourage vulnerable migrants to make this very dangerous trek that many of them are coming over sick. They're ending up in harm's way. And the worst part is our laws right now have so many loopholes that they're encouraging children to make this trek. So I would think that...
Or the parents of those children.
Exactly.
Now, so real quickly, because during this cabinet meeting, which we will be playing out momentarily, 2/3 of those apprehended. That's what we're hearing from the Secretary of DHS today, Nielsen, at the meeting, because she joined by video link. She's at the border right now. She said that 2/3 of those apprehended are children. I mean, this situation is reminiscent of a former Democrat president when we had 90,000 unaccompanied minors coming across the border. I mean, it's going in the wrong direction.
Absolutely. And we need to
Is it dire enough for the president to enact those powers that he has, and he wouldn't even need Congress then?
The president does like to enact his powers when it is available.
It's a direct question. Do you think it is? Is it a humanitarian crisis?
Oh, it is absolutely a humanitarian crisis.
So he could do that. Then he wouldn't need Democrats.
Well, he'll need Democrats in the long term. There's only so long that executive orders can last you, as we've seen even with what's going on with the DACA kids, because that came from an executive order as well. I don't think the president wants to go down that route. I think he would love to make a deal if he could. He's just not going to get the terms that he's looking for. I completely agree with you that we should be talking about our laws and how to better manage what's going on the border, and also make sure that people who are fleeing from real danger and cannot stay in their countries can seek asylum, which is their legal right to do. But at the same time...
Is anybody stopping them from doing that? They just have to wait in Mexico, but they can apply. Well, nobody's stopping them from applying.
But it's not the normal procedure. You're supposed to be able to come to a U.S. port of entry and
what
seek
we've
asylum.
seen is people fan out all over the United States, so we don't have to see that anymore.
No, that'll be changed. It was a unilateral decree from the United States to Mexico that would change. Mexico, I believe, has accepted those terms. But going back to what's going on right now and making sure that this government government reopens. I know the president is trying to do some fancy footwork and to put this on Democrats, but the American people are very clear-eyed about this. There was a Reuters Ipsos poll last week that said 35% don't think that, only 35% say the border wall should be involved in keeping the government open, and only 25% think a shutdown should be in play.
You guys, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.